So what's up? What's up, people? How everybody doing today, man? Everybody good?
Chilling, homie.
Sir.
Chilling.
Yes, sir.
Cool, man. Well, check it. We're about to get off into it. This is episode 8. And I am your boy, Big Ruck.
108.
Yeah, 108.
I said 08.
You said
said
8.
Oh, yeah,
We all
108.
run together. I get
Yeah,
it.
say word.
You just thinking about what he ate earlier. That's all.
Right.
Right. So the gang is out here, man.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna get into it today.
Yes, sir.
Everybody feeling okay?
Absolutely.
Always
Doing
good.
good, man. Doing good.
Beautiful day.
Cool.
Absolutely.
It's about to get cold.
Yeah, they finna freeze y'all's heinies off.
That's what I heard.
Ice and everything. From what,
Man.
9 p.m. tomorrow to 2 a.m.?
I'm
That's when it's
just
gonna
look.
get
I just want it to be enough ice on the road where I don't have to go to work tomorrow. That's all I want.
Ooh, Jessica got 15 inches of snow up there.
Oh, and
Lord.
yeah,
Man.
no,
Good Lord.
Oh.
Amy's brother, and he lives in Maine. They got what'd she say the other day? 3 feet, 4 feet?
No shit.
They got a
Damn.
lot of snow. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, I know they had a
of
blizzard.
snow.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. They had a real, like,
And
full-blown
like where
winter storm.
Jessica's now, and then my daughter in Detroit, they're still getting this right now. That whole section that's coming down toward us is moving along, and Detroit is all messed up and everything.
I like the cold, but that's too much of anything.
Man, yes. Good Lord.
Because good grief.
So it's Black History Month, y'all.
Yep, started yesterday.
It's
Yeah.
our month? It's our month?
No, wait, it's your 28 days.
20, the show, oh,
They give you a whole month.
Right.
We call it a month, but it's only a month with a
Yeah,
week.
the shortest
Take it
one
out,
I've
we
seen.
can get it. Take it out, we can get it.
But still, good day.
It's like that damn quarter and everything else. It's like, did we ask for this?
Right.
Or is this one of those things y'all gave us to placate?
It's not an actual month, M-O-N-T-H. It's a month, M-U-N-T.
It's
Right,
month.
Right.
Hell,
Alright,
the
cool.
LGBTQ got 30 days.
Right?
You know,
Damn.
my people got 30 days.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Yeah, man.
they figure, you know what, they didn't ask for it. We're going to give it to them, fuck it.
Right.
We gave you Juneteenth. Shut the hell up.
So what y'all think about the
That should be Black History Month.
update in the Ahmaud Arbery trial?
I think it's wonderful.
I'm so glad they didn't.
I
go in
was
that deal.
surprised. I'm not gonna front. I wasn't surprised so much of the outcome of the first one. I didn't think they would have got life.
Yeah.
So I knew they were gonna get prosecuted. I mean, I knew they were gonna be found guilty. I didn't know to the in depth. I didn't know how deep it was gonna be, and they got life. And
Life
I thought
in
that was
prison.
cool
Goddamn
without
right.
parole.
I
You know what I'm
thought
saying?
I thought they was finna get him passed though with that deal with the feds.
Yeah,
Because they
exactly.
charged him with that hate crime now, and so they was
Exactly.
trying to make that deal where they was gonna do we'll admit to everything if you go ahead and just give us Fed time instead of
And that
state prison.
and that
A lot of
judge
times they
said,
can't do
nope.
that. Because a lot of times they can't do that because the state.
What's
Well,
up, Steph? My sister in the house.
state,
What's
they
up,
want
baby?
your,
Yeah,
give them
miss
your
you,
time
love
because
you.
they make money.
Hopefully
and
see
then
you
you go
soon.
through your Fed time and shit.
Thank you for tuning in and give.
Yeah.
Hey man, give my baby a big old hug for me, man. That's my nephew, man.
That's
Yeah,
what's up.
yeah,
That's what's up.
man.
What's up,
I
man?
love him
Nice.
to death, man. Love him to death.
What you was worried about, Los Fagor, that you said?
No, what I was saying that like what they were saying is most of the time the reason they said no is because I've known people that did something somewhere and they had to serve state time, and when they walked out, you had to go to Fed time.
Wow.
So in this case, that state said no, we want them motherfuckers to do our time too, and then y'all can go do that work. You can give it to him or not, but he's gonna do this.
But they gonna stay
because they
here.
make money off of that.
Of course.
You know?
But the family wants them in state jail because
Right.
they like, nah, Fed jails is
It's too easy.
low population,
right.
better funded, way safer. So now we want you, and the dad is an ex-cop.
Right.
So if you put him in a state jail,
Yeah.
he gonna be in there with a bunch of dudes he probably locked up anyway. So I'm
Either way, he's in jail till he never getting out. I don't care how easy it is
Right.
in there. You're never gonna
That
come
is
out.
true.
And
But,
guess what?
he needs
The
to.
brothers might kill you just because.
But they gonna
You
keep
know.
them in segregation. How ironic.
Still,
Oh, yeah.
you locked the fuck up
I
forever.
know, right?
You know, but they have to. These dudes are cops.
I
You
understand.
can't put cops in with regular people. That just they'll kill you. You know,
Well, the dad was a cop.
the dad.
Yeah, the dad was a cop.
But
The-
he's associated, so they're gonna get them all.
But hell, what you in there for is gonna get you fucked up.
Right.
True.
Right.
You lynched
True.
this innocent black man. Wasn't
Right.
doing nothing. You got plenty of brothers in there who gonna make their name off of your ass for real.
And unless, like he said, they do segregate them, and the blacks that are there segregated with them, they're not gonna fuck with them because I'm here for a reason.
But you know what?
Same reason he's here for.
We
can't be out there.
They're gonna do the same shit anyway. When they get in there, they gonna get connected with the Aryans.
That's all.
You know, and
That's all.
Because they smart.
Yeah.
That'll be their only saving grace for them.
But the good thing is that's 3 racist motherfuckers that we don't have to deal with out here no more ever again.
That's true.
So if you deal with them, it's because you got locked up too. So they're gone.
I'm just glad they didn't give them that fed time because that would have been too much of a cakewalk. Don't get me wrong. I know jail, no matter what you're doing, is gonna be tough. But the difference between fed time and state time, that's like night and day, man.
Really? That's what I heard.
Yeah, man.
That's what I heard.
So they got a former NFL player, Myron Rolle, man. You know, I don't follow football, so I don't know who this dude is, but this dude is now a neurosurgeon at the age of 33.
God bless.
Used to be in the NFL, and now he's a 33-year-old neurosurgeon.
That's a smart brother.
That's
yeah,
good.
man.
So
that is a smart brother.
He probably got a scholarship to go to college, play football, finish football, when he got his doctorate.
Right.
He had the money too. Shit.
Right.
Yeah, especially if you made it to the NFL, you got the money. Might as
You
well.
figure you're not going to go get a doctorate and then go play football.
Yeah, but on top of that, he's acknowledging he knows that football can't last forever.
Right.
What happens to most guys who retire from football?
Right.
You see them after a few years. They come on TV, maybe do some commentating, but they moving slow. They barely, able to walk and stuff like that. You see these dudes get old and messed up by that game, man. Yeah. Either that or they so confused they can barely hold a conversation.
Right. And the money that he got paid from the NFL, I'm sure he didn't even have to, paying for college worth of shit.
Yeah.
I just paid it right off and got it.
That's dope.
He probably did that.
Whenever he signed up for class, he just paid them off right there. And
right.
Did the classes,
right.
The next.
Like how much for the whole doctorate?
Right.
Okay, here, take that.
Now I know I better go. I just lost all this money.
Right.
I better make sure I keep going.
I hope that changes the opinion or stereotype we have of athletes, because we tend to think of athletes as dumb jocks.
Right.
But for this individual to master and command and discipline his body to the point where he was able to get to the NFL is a feat in and of itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And then to train and discipline your mind to leave that arena and go into medicine and become a successful neurosurgeon and do all of this prior to the age of 33, that is a colossal feat.
Yeah.
And to be in neurosurgery at that, because
Exactly.
that's one of the more difficult fields
during the off season.
Oh no, go ahead.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm not trying to belittle his accomplishments at all. This is all praise to him. I don't think it would have been that hard for him to make the transition, because in order to get into the NFL, to get to that level of athlete, you got to be a very focused individual to begin with. You know what I'm saying? You got to be a very focused and goal-oriented person to begin with, man. So I salute that, bro.
Like I said, he probably took classes on the off season.
Yeah.
That's why he got his doctorate so close, because he was still going to school and everything. I'm like, hey,
Could be.
I'm off for the next 2 months. What I'm gonna go to school.
Could be.
So he probably got a couple of classes out the way. Next season, come up more class, and then when he finally finished, he just went did it. 33, he got his doctorate.
One of the reasons black men have not been historically quarterbacks in football is because one of the things they do is they look at your SAT scores or what have you, and they look at and they measure your level of intelligence in terms of how well would you be able to understand, remember, and apply a book of plays this big with given a decision window of 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So they felt that historically we didn't have the intellectual makeup to command a position.
Yeah.
So if that is the predominant opinion of black athletes and that position in the NFL, to have a black football player to go from the NFL to medical school speaks volumes.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Definitely.
You understand? That's the point.
Well, the brothers must be smarter now, because there's a whole bunch of black quarterbacks now. And like you said, they got, not only do they got to know their plays, they got to know everybody's plays.
Right, you have to read the
So that's why their book
everything.
is thicker than everybody else's.
Exactly.
These are some smart brothers, because there's a whole bunch of blacks out there quarterbacking now.
Right.
So So it's like, hey, they're finally allowing them, or they're making the cut.
Wow. I mean, I'm impressed, man. I know I could be a football player. I do not understand football, the different plays, all that kind of stuff. Like we look like weapon schematics, line going here, line going there. So I applaud it.
That's
for
what
real.
he says when we replace it, man. I don't know what the hell you read.
I can't do it, and I've tried to. I can't.
So another shout out to another African American person, man. This lady named Ruth E. Carter. She's the first black woman to win an Academy Award for costume design.
Amen.
Yeah, and she's the first black costume designer to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Wow.
And you know there's had to be tons of them.
The sad part about that is it's 2022 and she's the first one.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying there's had to be many.
Regardless, shout out to
Oh
her.
yeah, there have probably been hundreds of them before her who should have deserved it, but just didn't get it.
Right, absolutely.
That's crazy.
Right.
And there's not that many that got that Academy Award for main actor or main actress. There's not that many that have gotten that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, all this
What is
time.
it,
And they've been in the movies forever and a day.
Portier and Denzel.
Right? Holly Berry finally got
Yeah,
that.
she got hers
she
for
had to
best
get fucked
actress,
and
but
shit, but you know, just and make it look good to get that award, but she got it.
But Denzel played a thug for him to get his.
Ain't that crazy? Shit, I'd give it to him
I
for
know,
glory.
right?
I'd give it to him for glory.
He should have got it
He
for
should have got
glory.
it for Malcolm X.
Shit, Malcolm
Oh,
X.
Should've got
man.
it for
Hell
Malcolm
yeah.
X. That's what he should
You
have
know?
got it for, yeah.
Shit.
Now that one there,
Just about everyone.
that and Denzel don't look nothing like Malcolm X, but when you watch that movie, he transforms into him.
Yes, he does.
You sitting there looking at him, you go, I know this man. I've seen this man's face in 100 movies.
Right.
But looking at him now, he looks just like Malcolm X.
Right.
But it's not that he does, it's he became him.
Right.
That just shows you how good of an actor that brother is.
That's
man.
right.
They talk about De Niro when he did Untouchables. He went to Sicily and hung out with some Italian dudes, got fat and everything, and he played the role of Al Capone just like Al Capone looked back then. And he went, ate up some shit, learned some stuff from where he's from, and came back and he was ready. I'm Al Capone, let's go, all big and fat and everything.
That's
You saw the
dedication
movie.
to your
Yeah,
craft.
yeah, you know your
Absolutely.
shit. You know I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play Al Capone. Everybody knows Al Capone's a big, thick dude.
Yeah.
How the hell am I gonna play him looking all skinny like this?
Right, right.
You know, and and the story is when he was in his heyday. Now I can see if they said, "Yo, we want you to play him young."
Yeah.
He might have been a thinner dude, but
Yeah.
I can't play him now.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, man, Al Capone wasn't that thin. What the fuck?
Right.
That's a pasta eating motherfucker.
It's amazing how one individual can embody the spirit of another individual and start reflecting that individual,
Right.
even though they don't look like that individual. I think
Right.
that is so
It
beautiful.
makes you feel
That
like
is so
he
beautiful.
looks like he said, watching Malcolm X, and Denzel started making you feel like you were really watching
Yeah,
Malcolm X.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know? Yeah, that's crazy.
it's how impressionable
It's
the
a-
human
it's a-
mind is.
There's a few actors that have gotten that level of commitment to the role, man. Like Fresh Prince, Will Smith when he played Muhammad Ali.
Mhm.
I think he did an excellent job.
Yeah.
Right on.
I also think that when your boy Jamie Foxx played
Ray Charles.
oh
Yeah.
man,
Absolutely.
that was a cold
that
one.
right there.
Absolutely.
That was up there with Denzel and,
Right,
and
right.
Malcolm X, man.
And the cold part is that some of the singing in the movie that he did himself.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
he's imitating Ray Charles, and
Right.
Ray Charles was known for being a famous. He could like imitate anybody,
Right.
but he had that man down pat.
Yeah, man.
I can't wait for the O.J. Simpson story. I'm gonna lay that roll out, y'all. I'm gonna lay it out. I'm gonna lay it out, boy. I'm gonna lay it out, boy. I'm gonna lay it out, boy. I'm telling
He
you,
gonna
I'm
walk on
gonna
the
call
air
your
out.
boy.
Right.
He gonna walk on the set. Where the white women at?
I'm right here. I'm right here. I got you. I got you. I got you.
Where the white women
I
at?
got you.
Somebody said, "OJ, here I am."
I got
What is it?
you.
Oriental James
You
Jones
know,
Simpson.
Orenthal.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Shoot.
Oriental James
And my
Jones
previous
Simpson.
employer can be my lawyer. You know?
Oriental James Jones.
Shoot. I already got somebody to play my lawyer.
James Jones.
We gonna start calling you Juice.
Shoot. Hook me
Yeah,
up.
that's the
man.
juice. Ronnie Juice.
That's where it's at.
Juice snacks.
Right.
That's where it's at.
Juice snacks.
That's where it's at. That's where it's at. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all are not ready.
Oh shit.
Oh man.
Indeed.
Y'all
We got
good? Good?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Yeah.
Oh, Oh, yeah, man. Bob, you got that PS5,
You know what I'm
dog?
saying?
Oh yeah, Papa.
Yeah.
That's why South Park was glowing over the horizon last night at 11 o'clock.
You didn't tell me it's a bright ass light.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, why is this light over
towards
there?
Bobby's crib.
I thought somebody blew something up.
Yeah.
Bobby called me. Just got the PS5. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Even though I'm tracking it and I'm watching a UPS driver, I'm like, dude, I can see my package and where you at. Like, why are you spending 2.5 hours in this one location?
Are you waiting on
First
that?
time Bobby been up at 8 in the morning.
Right.
Right,
Look,
right.
Bobby gonna roll up on the UPS truck.
Right,
About,
right.
Hey, can I
Where my
get
stuff at,
Where
man?
my shit at, man?
Huh?
Where my shit at, man? Why you over here waiting?
You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
supposed to be in my crib.
Outside his girl house. You
Right.
know?
I'm on break, nigga. So?
Complaining to Jeff Bezos.
Right.
I need my shit.
You gonna come pick up my own shit from the truck?
I
Goddamn.
need y'all to come through with it
Where's
right
the
now.
shit?
Absolutely.
Hey, where's the phone at?
Right there.
Good question.
Right there.
Is it on?
I think so.
Yes, sir. I saw the light blink.
Man, what y'all think about this Whoopi Goldberg issue?
I listened to what she said, man, and I think they full of shit. For
Yeah,
kicking
honestly,
off like that,
honestly.
man.
I think I when I heard what the conversation was and you know the things she actually said,
Yeah.
I'm like, what are they getting bent out of shape for?
Right.
What did she say? Because I only heard the sound bite.
Basically, they were having a conversation where they were talking about the Holocaust, and she said something along the lines, and I can't give you an exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, it wasn't about race. And I think where she was trying to go with it was that because, of course, it was persecuting the Jews, that's a religion.
Right.
You know, and I think that's where she was trying to go with it. But even if that's the case, whether you agree with her or disagree with her, there was really nothing wrong with that statement. But of course,
She also said she said something to the effect of you have two whites. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're both white, but
Right.
they're Jews.
So they can, yeah.
And, but you know, she was like it. She said it has more to do with the way humans have no
humans,
regard.
it was humans' inhumanity to
yeah,
each other.
inhumanity towards each other. She
Yeah.
said that's what it was.
It had more to do with that than race.
Than race, because it's two white, right? You know, it's two people of the white race.
Two groups of of white folks.
Yeah.
I think they made the right call on Whoopi.
Really?
Absolutely. Let me ask you all a question. We have to get some basics out the way. Is being a Jew a race or a religion?
Religion.
It's both. Is being a Jew a nationality or a religion?
It can be a nationality if you're from Israel.
So then that means that you understand that being a Jew covers a religion, a race, and a nationality. You can be a Jew and not subscribe to the Judaic religion. So you automatically know that this goes beyond just being a religion. Let's also look at what she said in terms of the Holocaust. She was not talking about World War II. She was talking about the Holocaust.
Right.
The Holocaust was an attack on a specific group of people that identified themselves as Jews. They were attacked because of Hitler's belief that, which he was correct, that this particular group of individuals was siphoning the economic sustainability of Germany out of their country, when their own citizens, if you will, had limited access to resources because they were in a Great Depression at the time. The Holocaust, not World War II, the Holocaust was all about race because he targeted his aggression towards specifically Jews, and then came the individuals that were, as we would call them, artistic. Then came the other individuals that may have been gay. But all of that came from a focused attack on the Jewish people. Jewish people, that is a race, period. I think that was a gross misrepresentation of what she was really trying to say. The Holocaust happened in the context of Hitler trying to get back at the West for the Treaty of Versailles. That's what put them in the situation they were in. The Treaty of Versailles followed World War I, 1919. That was his motivation for bringing up Germany to the powerhouse and juggernaut that it had become, because they didn't want to be in that situation no more. So when it comes to Whoopi in that situation, I think they made the right call.
I don't know. About the Jews being a race, though, I don't know. And maybe I don't understand the distinction that you're trying to make there, because to me, if you're talking about, like, say, Jews back in Jesus's time,
Two different people.
Those are different people.
right? And that's what I'm saying. So the people who we're talking about as far as what happened in Germany, they weren't those same people.
That's understood.
That's a different race of people.
That's understood.
So to me, that means it's a religion. It's something you can convert to. I can go to a Jewish temple and say, okay, I want to convert. And they'll, if they think I'm sincere, they'll accept me.
Let's make sure we understand the Jewish religion. Under Orthodox Jews, what is the difference between Orthodox Judaism and people that convert to Judaism? What is the fundamental difference?
Oh, no, that I don't know.
Okay.
And they're Zionists too,
Well,
within their group.
well, let's take it step by step. First off, Jews, if you are an Orthodox Jew, I don't care who your daddy was, your mother has to be a Jew for you to be considered a Jew. That's number one. Number two, when you look at the people that were identified as self-proclaimed Jews and the world understood as Jews, even if you read Shakespeare, The Taming of the Shrew, when he talked about Jews,
Right.
and how he was the pound of flesh or what have you.
Right.
He was not talking about black people that were the original Jews back then.
Right.
So we have to come to some agreement and understanding that at that time, the prevailing assumption, and to this day, are white people that have usurped the identity as being Jews. If these individuals are considered Jews, recognized as Jews, and they identify with the Jewish faith, they proclaim a right to Israel because of Zionism, you can say these individuals here, if they're Orthodox, this is a race of people that feel they are entitled to a specific piece of land that they feel speaks to their history. That's who he killed. Now, if you want to have a conversation about who the real Jews are and were, that's a different conversation. But when Hitler went to go kill Jews, he didn't drive to Ethiopia.
Right.
He didn't drive to Harlem. He didn't drive to Saudi Arabia. Okay? He got rid of the people that were self-identified, and we knew who they were because they wore the Stars of David.
Right.
We knew who they were because the way that they wore their hair. We knew who they were because they segregated themselves from apart the majority of the German people at that time. We know who they are now because of that same tradition, which is Goldberg. You understand? Now you lived in Germany. How many Germans, especially from Austria, did you know that were German but had a name like Goldberg?
Tons of them.
Okay?
Most of them. That's where they come from.
Then you knew if they had that particular last name, they were Jewish.
Right.
Most of your German people that come from Bavaria, that come from Austria, what have you, do not have those types of last names. Okay? So you have to understand the context in which what she said and why she was reprimanded by the Jewish people and the Anti-Defamation League. It's really that simple. I'm not trying to push history on anyone, but those are the facts. Jews are a race of people. You don't have to disagree with me. If you disagree with what I'm saying, you're disagreeing with the classification system of how we organize our society. Because just like if I'm Islamic, I can be a Muslim but not an Arab.
Right.
But an Arab is a race of people
Right.
that subscribe to a particular religion. But I can also be a Christian Arab. Notice they'll say, well, we're Jews for Jesus, or we're Christian Jews. They're automatically delineating. We are a specific race or type of people, but our belief differs from the traditional form of religion that my people or race practice.
And I get what you're saying. I get the explanation that you're giving, but to me that doesn't still qualify them as a race. It qualifies them as a religion. Because if, just like you said, you might claim I'm a Jew, but I'm a Christian. Then you're not really, in my mind, you're not really a Jew, you're a Christian. You might have Jewish ancestry, your mom, your grandparents, and all of them might have practiced Judaism, but if you're not practicing Judaism, then you're not a Jew. You might come from Jewish lineage, you might have a Jewish background in your family, but that's not a race, that's a religion that they chose to practice.
John, in Australia right now, the hugest opposition to Zionists come from anti-Zionists who are Jews. If you look at the people that proclaim themselves to be Jews, they do so based on race and nationality, but recognize we have no right to that land. As a matter of fact, look up a term, I want you to research something called secular Judaism or secular Jews, which means if I am a Jew but I'm secular, I'm denying the faith that comes along with our race, if you will. So I think differently than what I am. I'm born a Jew. That's how, case in point. What is the difference between Palestinians and Jews right now over in Israel?
Two different people.
Oh yeah? How so?
Two different
Jews
belief
don't belong
systems.
there. They're not from there.
Okay.
That's Palestine. That's their land. These people aren't the same people. They're different people.
So genetically speaking, we're talking about the Ashkenazis. I don't know if you all knew this. You have about 10, 11 other forms or types of Jews, genetically speaking. Ashkenazi makes up maybe 3% of them. But that's who owns and who's over Israel and also has advocated for Zionism since the late 1800s. Those people genetically are considered to be Jews, 3%, but they have no relationship to the original people that live there. As a matter of fact, the brothers and sisters in Ethiopia practice a lot of Jewish traditions that predate even Israel itself. It goes back to the days of the Porch of Solomon.
Yeah.
That's their shit.
Those are the people, and they look, by the way, they look very, very different than the Jews that are there now. But when they started getting persecuted, you know what the state of Israel did? Airlifted them straight up out of Ethiopia, took them straight over to Israel, and gave them supposedly full citizenship. They were discriminated then again because of their color. And you can go research that if you want as well. But in terms of how they identify themselves, in terms of how we recognize them, they are considered a race of people.
I get the consideration.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So if you're saying that they're not in any way genetically the same as the original Jews,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But that's what they claim themselves to be,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Do you consider them Jews in terms of genetically being real Jews?
No, I do not.
And you don't think that that's where she was coming from?
No, I do not. I'll
Okay.
tell you why. Because when she started talking about the reasons that happened, and she was saying, hey, this is because of human behavior. We're all innately have a propensity towards aggression and violence towards others. That's a human behavior. I have no issue with that.
Right.
What she failed to recognize is if you're going to say the Holocaust was not about race, that is as ignorant. It is if I said American slavery was not about race. It's just as ignorant. The reason, I'm not trying to be funny, brothers.
I hear what you're saying.
The reason,
I hear what you're saying.
the reason that people are having trouble grasping this is because there's a lack of understanding or an ignorance, if you will, in terms of how we separate and classify ourselves in terms of human nomenclature. That's the issue. I can't put that any other way. If someone came to me and said, hey man, slavery wasn't about race, it was about money. It was about taking advantage of. It was about economics. It was about the haves and have-nots. Well, if it wasn't about race, then why is it that only a specific group of individuals were put under these conditions?
Right.
Because it was about race, period. Okay, if we're talking about the Holocaust affected a specific group of people in a specific time, and not because they were white, agreed?
Right.
But they were considered Jews. You had Germans that were white, right?
Right.
That were considered non-Jews, right?
Right.
But out of that same population, they divided and said, these white people here versus these white people here have got to go to the furnace. And the reason these white people here got to go to the furnace,
Because
they're Jews. That's why.
They betrayed
That
us.
was all about race in terms of how they identified themselves.
I hear what you're saying, because whether you agree or whether they're really Jews or not, that's what they identify as racially.
That was
And
the basis
even if-
of their
even
segregation.
if they're wrong,
That
though,
was the basis of their
even
segregation.
if they're wrong,
Absolutely.
that was the basis of
That was
why
the-
they did it.
That's how they were able to pick them out. If right now, brother, you right now went to Ethiopia, Los right now went to Ethiopia, Jonathan right now went to Ethiopia, and we looked at the average person there, and let's say everybody said, hey man, we're all Christians over here, and you said, well, I'm a Jew. Well, we can pick you out because of what you believe or what you profess. But if we try to make a delineation of who's what based on how we look, hell, we all look the same. You understand? So now, if there's an ethnic divide or a religious divide, I have to find out what you believe and what you classify as.
Right.
Being a Christian is not a race.
I-
That's a religion.
I get
I
it.
understand.
Yeah.
That's not a race. Being a Buddhist is not a race.
Yeah.
Being a Muslim is not a race. Judaism encapsulates all of that. And you can have one without the other. Look no further than secular Jews who are against Zionism, who identify as Jews.
So these
That's
are-
why Whoopi got it handed to her.
So these were a tribe, a Germanic tribe that called themselves Jews.
The Ashkenazis, the one in power, the ones that we mostly have an issue with, the ones that history mostly has an issue with, the ones that Shakespeare had an issue with, those are Ashkenazi Jews. You're talking less than 3% of the entire
Before
group.
they got to Israel.
Way before.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm
Like the
saying.
Zionists, way
So
before.
in other words, now I can see that being, I'm from this section of the world and we're called this.
That's how
That's
they
my race.
That's how they
And
identify
as time
themselves.
went on, because you figure when we went over there as Americans, the Americans that considered themselves Jews was because that was their religion,
They adopted it.
not because that they were these
Right.
Jews. So
Right.
when they went over there, they figured, you're Jewish, I'm Jewish too, but you're not. You're not like them people. You only identify because you wear the star too, like they do. Well, Hitler made them wear that shit, but that's why you're there. But you're there because of religion. They were there because, hey, I'm not Jewish like
Why
you.
is-
I'm Jewish because I'm Jewish.
Why is Lenny Kravitz not considered a Jew?
Ooh, he's black.
Because his mama was black.
Yeah, so it's got to be your
His
mama.
daddy was Jewish. But Lenny Kravitz comes from a Jewish background. If Lenny Kravitz's mother, according to Orthodox Jews, if she had been a Jew, if you will, in terms of the traditional way of how we understand Jews, and the daddy had been black, he'd have been a Jew. Because of the way Orthodox consider your way to become a Jew. They don't believe you can accept our faith, our ideals, our doctrines, because you subscribe to a certain body of information. No, according to Orthodox Jews, either you're born a Jew or you're not. Case in point, where's the ethnic diversity across the board in Judaism? There isn't. In terms of what you consider and classify and understand as being a Jew. We look at their noses, don't we? Absolutely. Judaism is something that is totally different. It's not just a religion. It is a race. Period. So I think they did. I think they made the right call on her own ignorance. That was her fault. Whoopi put herself in a bad situation.
Could have asked her to explain herself.
They did, and she explained it incorrectly. She explained that would. As a matter of fact, she would have made a better argument if she had said, "Hey, man, World War II was about economics, and the Holocaust was about race and economics because the people we killing are taking all of our money.
And they betrayed us.
You understand? She would have had a better argument then instead of saying, hey, it wasn't about race. Well, what the hell else was it? What else could it have been? We all smart. What else could it have been?
They're different type of people. They're not Germans.
They're not Germans.
They're not Germans. They're not barbarians. You know, you're not one of us.
That's right.
You know, you're not.
That's
one
exactly
of
how
us.
they
You're tried
classify
from
it.
somewhere else.
That's right. They were barbarians. That's exactly
that's where
right.
they come from.
That's
They're
exactly
not from
right.
where they say they're from. There's no way.
That's exactly
There's no way
right.
you can make me believe that. I'm sorry. Just white people don't grow up from somewhere where everybody else is brown. That's okay. So that means everybody in Norway is black. Naturally. Come on now. That's pretty much what you're telling me. You know, it's like they don't come from there. I don't hear that shit.
To be honest with you, I think that was a missed opportunity for Whoopi. That was a real big missed opportunity. She really messed that one up because Nick Cannon, who got in trouble with Jews, he didn't lie.
Right.
That's the point I'm making. He didn't lie. She lied. But the source of the information came from two black public figures. You messed up big time. So now that you done made this kind of stupid statement, if you will, you just further delegitimized what everything that Nick Cannon was saying and was trying to get across to people.
Right.
Because of your ignorance and the misuse of your position.
Anytime anybody mentions the Jews, they always
You
get
walking on
backlash.
thin ice.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We about to get canceled?
Remember, Jay-Z said in a song that you should basically pay attention to the Jews, move the way they move in terms of money and buying land, and that's how they control shit, right? He said that in a song. That to me sounds like you're saying, hey, look at what they did. Be smart like they did. And they got at him about it.
Who, when he said that on the 444 album,
Yeah.
I'm asking you personally now. When he said be like the Jews, what popped up in your head?
The fact that they own a lot of land.
Who is the they?
The Jews.
Like
What do they look like?
in your mind? What
In
was
your
the image
mind,
that came?
what do they look like? Who is he talking to?
I mean, to be honest, nothing specific came in my mind, but if I think about it right now, I just think of, like you said, the big nose, even maybe the curly hair, you know what I'm saying? Just
I'm not trying to paint you in a corner.
I know you're not.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't feel like you was.
I got a question.
Do you feel slavery was about race? Oh,
Oh,
we're gonna get
yes.
there. Oh, we're gonna get there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yes, we're gonna get there. I promise
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Trust me, we will.
What I'm trying to do is, the last episode you stated, man, they hijacked Jesus.
Mhm.
So now whenever you think about Jesus, you don't think about the historical figure. You think about the individual who hijacked his image from the
Right.
1500s.
Right.
Right.
That's who comes in your head.
Right.
I'm asking you, when that man said in that song, we need to be like the Jews, something should have popped up in your head about the individuals that he was singling out.
What popped up in my head literally was those individuals that we know as Jews that own a lot of the land in America and control a lot of shit.
And if Hitler was born today, those were the people that he would have went after. He would not have gone to Ethiopia. That's my whole point I'm making.
Yeah.
You understand? Because of how they identified themselves. That's the point, brother.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So imagery is almost, well, I can't say almost, imagery is damn near everything. But it doesn't exist in a vacuum where we say, well, you know, slavery was not about race. It was just only, you know, it's about economics. But then when you start looking at race, started looking at slavery, before you see any pictures, and you're looking at the people that it affected, and you see a commonality among all of the people affected, and the basis of that commonality was a singular thing, which was not economics, it was not your place in society, it was your skin color.
Right.
You know that's about race. That's what the Holocaust was about. It was all about race, the Holocaust.
Yeah.
But on another subject, you really can't blame Hitler, if you really want to be honest.
I mean, I feel what you're saying.
I ain't saying you should have treated them people like that. I'm
Right,
not legitimizing
right,
that at all.
Right,
At
right.
all.
But
I'm not legitimizing that.
He did
Right.
bring his economy.
But you
He
have
made
to
his country
understand.
great.
You have to understand the conditions in which he operated. which actually is very related to our topic tonight. And I wasn't trying to be a
just about to
segue.
say it,
It's
to be
very
honest with
related.
you.
It's very related.
Them hoes got reparations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They sure the hell is.
Absolutely.
They got reparations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
What was you, John? Let me ask you, man.
Okay.
Like when we first started talking about reparations as a topic to follow the American lie regarding the education, psychological brainwashing of us. What were your thoughts, man? What first came to mind when you thought about reparations? It could be anything, man.
Really, when I think about reparations, I like I said, I think on the last show, I don't think about us just getting a check. I'm not talking about just issuing every black person a check.
Right.
You're going to have to go above and beyond to make right for what you did to our people for so long. Right. And so for that, we need, there's going to be a financial component. I'm not saying don't, but we're going to have a financial component. There needs to be an educational component. There needs to be something involving land.
Absolutely.
There's just a lot of basic things. There needs to be a change in a lot of our laws to be able to even accommodate the reparations, the kind of reparations that I would picture if I could, just wave a magic wand and make it happen today.
Okay.
But it would just be, it would be a lot more involved than just cutting a check for everybody, because that's not going to fix anything.
Absolutely.
We would be broken in 5.2 seconds
Absolutely.
if you just cut a check for everybody.
Absolutely.
And when that really wouldn't help us.
When you say land, is it because we took you from your land and brought you here? Because you didn't own none of this land. So why should I give you land you didn't own?
Because
that's a hell of a question.
That's what I'm saying. Was it
No,
because I took
I
you from your
personally
land and brought you here where you have no land because you're saying we want land? Why? You didn't own none of this shit. We just brought you here, so why should I give you land? Here's some money, here's some education, go the fuck off. You know
and
what I'm
look,
saying?
even if you did money in education, I could work with that depending on the amount of money.
Right.
Because then I could go buy my own land. But the point is that there was a point in American history where it was possible for poor white people to be able to go get land based on government grants and things that the government was doing. You gave them this advantage over us, and we were denied the opportunity to partake in that, in those kind of programs. That's where redlining came from. So since we couldn't even take advantage when y'all were giving away land, when y'all were begging people to take land, we should get that same opportunity. There's been hundreds of opportunities like that we've missed over the years, that in order for them to make things fair, to make things equal, you'd have to go back and readjust all of this stuff for us, because we built this country.
You are
But
100,000% correct.
But the way I wrote it didn't include you.
I understand
brought you
that.
here to build this for me.
Understand that.
That's why I let them have it first.
But you wouldn't have it without
You know
us.
what I'm saying?
And if you're being honest, you wouldn't have it without us. So you should compensate us for our labor. We've been lazy ever since we stopped working for free.
That's why I'm just saying that, because it's like, well, why would I give you land? Here's some money, go buy your own fucking land.
You could say you took us from our land.
That's why I asked. That's why I asked. Is that you feel like you should get land because you took me from the land that I owned back home, and you brought me here, and now, the same way. Okay, you're free now. You're still not a citizen, but I'm gonna let these people go get all that shit first.
Right.
I'm gonna take care of my people first, because remember, you were not written for this paper that I wrote. You had nothing. We weren't even thinking about y'all.
But even the poor white folks wasn't in mind when they wrote that stuff. It was literally for the white male landowners. That was it. If you wasn't in those, if you didn't fit into those three categories, you got nothing.
But yeah, we had to give them. That's why we gave them land, so we can start voting through the shit. Way too many at the time. But yeah, that's I mean, for me, when you talk about reparations for America, I don't get any, because the United States did not enslave the slaves that were in Puerto Rico were from the Spaniards. They weren't from here, so they would owe me nothing, because it's different two people. These were Spaniards, not these people. So they had slaves in America, in Puerto Rico, for 350 years.
Right.
And the slave owners got paid. They got paid 35 million pesetas per slave, and they had to work 3 more years as an extra incentive for the people before they let them go. But those weren't the same slave owners that were here.
Right.
So if you come to say, we're gonna get money, they can tell me, no, bro, your people were from over there. We don't owe you. No, we didn't enslave you. They did. Go talk to the Spaniards. So for me, this talk for me is I don't get shit no matter what.
Let me say, I just wanted to say shout out to Lavelle, everybody watching. Thank
Miss
you,
Cooper.
Mary. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mary Cooper.
Thank you,
we
Mary.
appreciate
Appreciate
that.
you.
Great to see you back.
Most
Yeah.
definitely.
She came
Most
back to us.
definitely, man.
Glad to see you back, Miss Cooper.
Most definitely.
So yeah, that's the part for me. So I'm listening. I'm about to listen to what y'all have to say because I don't get nothing about what y'all are talking about because of where I'm from. It's two different
Honestly,
types of people.
I think if they would, and again, this is just the wave the magic wand kind of scenario. If they were being honest, all the European countries that participated in the Atlantic slave trade, so you talking about England, Spain, France,
Especially
all
England.
of them. You talking about all of those countries should contribute to the reparations that we should receive. So that means you should get something.
Right.
All the people from the islands,
Right.
Caribbean should get something.
The whole
It
half
should be
of this world
yeah,
should
right.
take that.
Any person who can prove that ancestry of slave descent in this part of the world should literally be included with that program. And those countries, along with the U.S., should be involved in paying for it because it wasn't just the U.S. that did it. It was all of those European countries because all of them had a stake over here in one spot or another.
Right. But the thing is, though, those others are not asking for this. You here are asking for that. They're not asking for it.
Well,
Because for us,
reparations.
we're so far gone that we don't even think about getting money for being slavery. Because okay, it was a long time ago. So it's the Americans, the United States, African American. They're asking for money. No one else is. That's why Spain is not paying a damn thing. Portugal's not gonna pay shit. It's them British that came over here and did what they did. They're the ones that got paid.
And hell, even
The other ones
even the
didn't think
British,
about
what was it? No, I'm sorry, it was France. I think that paid reparations to their slave owners when they lost the Caribbean islands.
Right.
When the
They
slave,
paid the owners.
yeah,
not the
when
people.
Haiti rebelled and they got France up out of there, the French government gave the slave owners reparations and then charged Haiti for the money that they gave to the slave owners. Like, oh, we had to pay them so many millions. Okay, y'all pay us that back.
That is the definition of reparations.
That's right.
Right.
That is the definition of reparations. If we're going to talk about reparations on a worldwide scale, this conversation needs to go from where we are now to being a human rights issue petitioned before the UN.
Pretty
Mhm.
much.
That's a different conversation if we're talking about the American slavery experience and the reparation this nation owes us.
Right.
Now, if we're going to talk about a human rights issue, we need to go back to what Whoopi said. Hey, man, humans are going to behave aggressively towards each other across time. So now we got a real problem to prove our case because human behavior has shown across time. That is how we behave. That is why Thomas Sowell, he's a famous black economist. I think he has more conservative leanings. When the issue of reparations came up, he said, man, slavery has existed since the dawn of time. He didn't lie.
No, that's true.
So now we're talking about a human rights issue. But if we're going to talk about slavery in terms of how it affected a particular group of people at a particular group of in time and the descendants thereof, now black people have to have a conversation with the government.
That's a whole different thing.
It's a whole different conversation
Before,
now.
it didn't matter where you were from. It was white slaves, black slaves, brown slaves. They didn't give a damn where you were from.
It's a whole different
Here
conversation.
was a whole different. This was just one kind of people.
I want to ask you this. You said that the document, the Constitution, was not written or included us.
Right.
You didn't lie. So, as a nation begins to bring itself together or unify itself, especially after the Civil War, the only way you can have some type of equity, you okay, brother? Or equality, and equity, yes, is that there are individuals that are in a specific set of circumstances as a result of antecedent behaviors. One of them being this particular group was ostracized from obtaining or making some form of wealth for themselves.
Right.
That's the basis of reparations.
Right.
That's the basis of it. When was the first time you all ever heard the term reparations, and what was it relative to?
Oh man, I want to say I heard it probably back in the early '90s.
Okay.
Back when I was, I don't think it was mentioned in the autobiography of Malcolm X, but it was around the time when I was reading that and stuff like that when I first heard of the concept of reparations, and I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Okay.
First time I ever heard it was when I heard that they paid all the Japanese people that they locked up during
Okay.
World War II.
Okay.
That's the first time I heard, they're going to give them people some money?
Okay.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, that's messed up what they did, so they paying them. That was the first time I had ever heard it.
Okay.
That I didn't know they paid the Japanese, because at first I didn't know they rounded them all up.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I'm like,
That's not one of those things they teach us in history
I thought
class.
those were Americans just because they're Japanese. I mean, they're gonna fight you, but that's what they thought. And then later, and then keep reading like, and they paid them. Oh shit! I guess they knew.
And they
Man,
paid
we're
them.
sorry that we, I mean, come on, here's some money.
Right.
And they paid them. That's the first time I had ever heard the
Okay.
word.
What about
But
you,
that
bro?
they did
First
that
time
kind of
I heard
shit.
though, I remember reading something about the Jews, man, and they were talking about how they, paid them money, and they also did something like had something to do with investments and stuff that they made, to help push them along, and help get them
Back on their
back
feet.
on their feet and all of that type of stuff. That
Fair
was
enough.
the first time.
And that's
that
the
was a while
Fair
ago.
And that's the
That
same
was a while
time,
ago.
in a sense of time and history, we're thinking of the same time.
Absolutely.
Except these
Right.
Japanese didn't get no
Right.
investments and nothing else.
Right.
Right.
They
Right.
did, not these people.
Right.
Right.
Two different. That's like
Right.
we gave Japanese money, but they ain't getting invest nothing and try to help us move along. Here, we're sorry we locked you up. Going back home. Here's a couple $1,000.
Right.
As,
Right.
hey, we're gonna help you get some land and do this and that. That's two different types of people. But then, and now that involves race.
Right.
Because these
right.
Japanese are
Right.
they're not white. These people, even
Right.
though you could say they're a Jewish race, they're still my color. I'm gonna take care of them.
Right.
So that's the two different things there. So the reparations were way different.
What is your understanding of the working definition of reparations? It doesn't have to be exact or academic or nothing, but what is your basic understanding of it?
From my understanding, it's just something that would be paid to someone for egregious acts against them, against a people at a certain point in time for whatever reason.
Okay.
And those reparations will be paid, to kind of make it right, or I mean,
To
it's
atone.
pretty much to atone.
To
That's
atone,
what I was
basically.
trying to think of. Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and the thing too is not so much like you said to a type of people, because prisoners got to pay the victims, their families' victims, reparations.
And that's what I was going to
That
say.
got nothing to do with race.
Because-
That got to do with me killing your son, and now while I'm in jail, you're gonna get the money that I make while
Yeah,
I'm in jail.
because
Now,
I
that's the
looked up
type
the
of
definition
reparations too.
earlier today just to kind of make
Right.
sure that we was on,
Right.
dealing with the same basics. But it says the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. And then, of course, the example that they give, say the court required a convicted offender to make financial reparation to his victim.
Right.
Okay.
And the one that I wrote down, it actually says pretty much the same thing, but different. It says reparations is a system for redress for egregious injustices.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So that means when you say atonement, that means that there is a power differential somewhere, meaning someone took advantage of someone else to their benefit, or harmed someone else to their benefit.
Right.
Agree or disagree?
I
I
agree.
want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay. To
The
LaBelle
repair
says
wrong.
to repair wrong.
Yeah.
The first time, I shouldn't say the first time, one of the earliest times that reparations was even a part of the human vocabulary, it was used in the form of warfare.
Yeah.
You heard reparations used during warfare, in particular here in the West, we heard about it, because during World War I, Germany caused World War I. And when Germany caused World War I, they instituted a system of reparations at the Treaty of Versailles in 1919, because you, Germany, started a war that the Central Powers, or the other powers, the West, had to respond to, and we incurred a loss of life.
Mm-hmm.
We incurred a loss of merchandise. We incurred damage to our economy, etc., etc. So when you first heard reparations, the human ear anyway, the first time the human ear heard reparations in modern times was this country here got beat by this country here doing some type of warfare. And this country here, because they're the ones that started it, have to pay this country and everyone else that was involved in that war reparations.
Yeah.
That is a vastly different understanding of how we now understand and apply reparations. I couldn't figure out for the longest, I'm gonna be honest with y'all brothers, I couldn't figure out for the longest, why is there so much blowback against the argument for reparations from this government to black people?
Right.
When I started studying the history of reparations, I found myself learning a crash course on economics that most black people in this country do not understand. Reparations, as they defined it, a levy on a defeated country, forcing it to pay some of the war cost of the winning country's losses.
Same thing that they did to Haiti.
Absolutely. That's why when the brother said it, you dead on.
Yeah.
You dead on. It's been here all along. You dead on.
Right.
Okay. So then the question becomes, and let's just have a discussion about it. I guess since we're going over, let's have a discussion about it. Why are they so resistant? If that is the working definition, if that is the root that it came out of, why would they have such an issue with paying us reparations?
Too much money, brother.
It'd be admitting a loss.
You gonna break me? I can't do that.
Go further.
It'd be admitting a loss because, like you said in the definition that you just gave, it's what the losing side pays to the winning side, and that's part of the reason their pride won't let them admit that they lost us to a certain, depending on how you look at it, that they lost to us because we got freed.
Okay. Anyone else?
So the South should be paying.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
Because the Union won, so the South owes
we gonna
me
get
for
there.
all these, and you got
We
to pay
gonna
for all
get
them brothers.
Oh, we're gonna
The
get there.
South should be paying.
Nigga, if tonight's show gotta be 7 hours, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
In
But
that case,
let's
then the
let's
South
take
should
baby
be
steps.
paid.
Let's
Okay.
walk through it. Let's
Yeah,
walk through it.
shit.
The reason this is important, brothers, because in order for us to understand what we're dealing with, we have to get into their minds.
Right.
And if we don't understand how they think, we will always be distracted. Okay. This country corporation has a problem admitting was wrong morally. Okay, cool, no problem, cool. That's why they was happy when Clinton gave them said, okay, we sorry. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. And then they kept on business as usual. The way economics work relative to reparations is first and foremost, you have to have a winner, you got to have a loser.
Yeah.
Under the definition of reparations, if you have to have a winner and a loser, usually the loser was the cause of whatever disruption that was brought to the economy, world, nation state, whatever it is.
Right.
So they owe the larger group or the victors. The reason why, and this is relative to when we talked about Whoopi in Germany and Hitler earlier, the reason why World War II happened was because Hitler, after World War I, saw the economic destruction that the Treaty of Versailles was causing Germany because of the reparations Germany had to pay the West.
Right.
The way reparations work is once you have deemed that this particular country or organization or whatever you want to call it, but for the sake of argument, in terms of the classical sense of how reparations was developed, the country that was defeated is already behind the hole. Do we have a call coming in?
No.
Oh, okay. Was already behind the hole. You've just been decimated in warfare.
Right.
Now that means your economy is gone. Is shot. You've lost a lot of population.
Yeah.
Your politics are unstable because now you have an occupying force behind the lines of the country they just decimated.
Right.
And the country that has been decimated, they have to organize their economy in such a way that they pay reparations in one of two ways: in kind or in cash. If any of this sounds familiar, please stop me.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay, and this was new to me. This I ain't gonna lie to y'all. The more I learned about this, I got pissed off because I understood my ignorance of economics, what this is really all about. When you pay reparations in kind, what you basically said is, whatever your gross national product or your wealth is,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay a certain percentage of that to the organizations or countries that defeated you. If you have to pay from your income, then that means that whatever money your country generates has to go to the people that you got into a fight with and lost the fight. You with me?
Right.
Okay. If you pay in kind, that means that the country or countries that you lost to, if you don't have the cash to pay them, however much they deem you should pay, you have to now forfeit your assets domestically and globally.
Okay.
Because you have to make the debt.
Right.
When World War II hit, Hitler understood that. It was called the Weimar Republic before. Hitler understood the level of depression that the German people were already in. And now you're saying we have to pay X amount of billions. This is 1940 something. I'm sorry, 1930 something at this time. We have to pay billions in 1930s Deutschmarks towards the West because we lost World War I. So you're kicking me while we are down.
Right.
We are already decimated. That means that also you just de-incentivized the private sector because the money that any country uses to pay reparations comes from the money or the wealth generated by the private owner in that country. The private owner in that country has to pay his country or his nation in terms of taxes. If that ain't enough, the people are even levied heavier taxes because we have
gotta pay this debt.
a debt.
It's gonna hurt.
Right? Now, you already doing bad enough just to rebuild. So just think about the kind of infrastructure repair you're looking at in 1930s, 1920s Germany, from 1914-18 World War I. We're already behind the hole just to meet those demands.
And part of that debt is the winning side is who's building your shit back. So you gotta pay that.
Absolutely. 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 That is one of the conditions. There are 3 conditions you have to meet in order to even qualify for reparations.
Right.
But okay. So you're dealing with these realities. Hitler's saying, man, we are in a losing situation. We do better off.
Killing
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do better off just trying to corral our resources. What did the average German at that time think? Hey man, we are poor.
We're not giving up shit.
And it's their fault. And we need to know how we're gonna get out of this. And then you have a leader that comes along and says, they're the problem. What you just did was you just satisfied one of the basic requirements for nationalism. And then you also, in doing so, identified an enemy.
Yeah.
Right.
And you also had the guts to go before the nation state and say, they're the problem, they're the enemy, and I have a plan. Notice how the more we are listening to what Hitler was dealing with, Hitler is not so much of a beast as we try to put him in a box.
He wasn't.
His methods were.
At the end, yes,
But that's
at
after the
first.
fact. That's after the
He
fact.
hooked Germany up.
We gotta understand why we're not receiving reparations. When that happened, they go to World War II. After World War II, what they learned about reparations was the amount that any country would owe the other countries for the war they started will always be greater than the amount that country is able to produce. Now, I want you all to start thinking about black people. The amount that the conquered nation will owe will always be higher than what they are able to pay. Notice every time we have this conversation, the first question that comes up, especially from conservatives or white folks, whatever you want to call them, or black people posing as white, whatever, or you know how they try.
Yeah.
The first thing they say is, "Who gonna pay for it? Who they gonna pay? Who gonna pay for it?" And then you start getting this resistance.
Right.
And what is the resistance? Well, it can't come out of our pockets. They're gonna raise our taxes.
We didn't do that shit.
Look at the resistance you're getting. You understand?
Right.
We didn't do that. Look at the resistance you're getting. They're gonna they're gonna refuse to want to pay because now my taxes have to go up to pay these people over here for something that happened 200 years ago. I don't understand that. Notice you start having the same situation now that was a precedent for the situation that led to World War II because they understand the money.
Yeah.
Okay. I had to say all that and bore you out of hell to say this to get to what we really want to talk about. Since those are the rules of reparations, it was not until Israel pushed the Palestinians out of Palestine in the Israeli-Arab War. When that happened, Palestinians overnight lost their homes, they lost their land, they lost their businesses. Overnight, they were pushed out after the war was over, and somebody like walked into this room right now and said, "Hey, you know what, this is my house." Now, Los lives here, but now you have someone that is not from here, never paid no taxes on this home, didn't even put a down payment on it, coming in and assuming and usurping your residency. Well, where are you gonna live, Los? Well, that ain't my problem. Well, we got a couple of homeless shelters out there. So now you went from being a homeowner to homeless.
I got a shack in the back you stay in.
In 1953, the United Nations, not Saudi Arabia, not Iran, not just America, the United Nations Coalition Commission for Palestine recommended Israel accept responsibility for property lost by Arabs. But Israel refused to accept responsibility, but agreed to make reparations through the UN if it received a loan or assistance from the UN. That is the first time in history you're going to find where the losers were owed a debt by the winners through the form of reparations. So now, notice how the definition of reparations, it stays the same, but it's changed now. Because as we just had that boring crash course, it usually went from the defeated to the conqueror.
To the winner, yeah.
Now the conqueror has to pay the defeated. If that makes sense, now let's talk about reparations.
Now, wouldn't that be the same as how America paid the natives here? How they still pay them? Is that something like that?
I'm glad you asked.
That's the same kind of thing.
I'm glad you asked.
Took my land.
I'm glad you asked.
They did pay
Absolutely.
They
I'm
still
glad
pay
you
them.
asked.
Yep.
Because now,
it's almost over though.
now we have the basis to make our argument.
Right.
If America, the Native Americans received land and billions of dollars for their displacement.
Right.
Japanese Americans, $1.5 billion for World War I internment.
1.5.
Jews received by way of the Marshall Plan for the Holocaust, billions of dollars.
Like 3.45 billion.
That's the number. Do you all know what Field Order 15 was?
Yes, I was just sitting here.
Explain Field Order 15.
Explain, because I'm still reading it. So go ahead and explain it.
When Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, Jackson took over.
Right.
Abraham said 40 acres and a mule. So now you're looking at reparations. You with me? We have this, now we're looking at reparations. Jackson reversed the 40 acres and a mule in
When
return.
Lincoln died, right?
Huh?
After Lincoln died.
Yes, absolutely. After
Right.
Lincoln was
He reversed
assassinated.
everything.
Absolutely.
And he gave the money to the slave owners for losing property.
The land back to them.
Yeah, the land back
Gave
to
them the
them
land back.
for losing property.
For
right?
losing property
and the
from
property,
the Civil War.
Right. And we were the property.
Thank you.
That crazy.
We were the property that they
Thank you.
lost. So that shit right there gotta let you know that the thinking of the people that we even asking reparations from.
So
That's crazy.
one of the criteria of reparations is if you demand reparations from a country that you conquered, that country not only has to have the ability to generate the revenue or goods to deliver, but the receiving country also has to have an economy that can absorb those losses from them. And it has to generate and utilize the money just as effective as the host nation that has to give the money. They have to utilize it in their economy. They're receiving it. As well as the economy they got it from, used it for themselves. That's a perfect scenario. There's never once been a situation where that's been able to happen. That's asking for an absolute perfect economic market.
Right.
So in order for that to happen without any ripples in the pond, that condition has to be met. Otherwise, if you ask for you demand reparations from a country you've conquered, now what has to happen is there is a prolonged response in terms of you being able to see the benefits or the rewards of the reparations you're receiving. Because if we've already established this country, not ours, but the country you've conquered, is going to be in debt 10 times over the amount of the war or their worth, now we have to lower the standard of living for our society as well as their society so that they can have the leeway to use their economy to generate the revenue that we put on them. If we give them the money and they misuse it, we are now elongating our recovery because you only have so much money in any economic system. This is cold-blooded.
Yes, sir.
These white folks knew what they was talking about.
Right, damn Skippy.
What is the first thing that we said when tonight we said, hey man, what came to mind when you thought about reparations? Money? They gave it to us yet? No. Why? Because we even say among ourselves, we're going to misuse it when we get it anyway. Right. They're not giving it to you because they can't give it to you. They understand that one of the criteria of reparations is if I'm going to get a return on what you are supposed to give to me or vice versa, I have to lower my standard of living and hope yours runs optimally so that in the long run, I can get it back. You understand?
Right.
Yeah.
Because the more reparations I put on you, no matter how much you may say I owe, which may be substantial, in order for me to even receive it back, chances are I'm gonna have to lower the amount of reparations that I'm putting on you than what you deserve.
Okay.
That's deep.
Wow.
That's deep.
That is.
Okay.
That's deep.
That is.
They looked at reparations in terms of economic cost because they're looking at it through war, right?
Right.
They looked at it through economic cost, and then they also looked at it through human life, the loss of human life. The economic was easy because if you had so many machines powering your economy, if you had so many computers, if you had so many submarines defending your shores or what have you, we could go and say, okay, cool, here was the economic cost and hope we get that back by coming confiscating your assets.
Yeah.
But how do you put a number on human life? Now it's starting to get muddy. Now it's starting to get muddy. I'm gonna stop right there because I can go on regarding this, but I want to hear more from you all in terms of having the information we have now, in terms of how reparations work, where it came from. What is the solution in terms of if we're owed reparations? How's it going to come to us? How are we going to demand it? I think Jonathan was hitting on it earlier. But what are we going to demand for our suffering? And in what form are we going to receive it? And how are we going to put it to use?
That's a damn good question.
No taxes. Don't tax black people.
Exempt from taxation?
Exempt from tax.
For what? I mean, it can't
Forever.
be indefinitely.
Why not? You know?
That'll never fly.
I'm saying that's one, but that won't fly. They're not giving you
That's gonna
shit.
create more division.
They're not giving anything, man.
That's gonna
Yeah.
create way
I
more.
would say it would have to be. I would say it would have to be something along the lines of like free college education.
Okay.
You know,
They give that to the natives.
for us. You know, we'd be able to go to basically any university for free,
Okay.
so we can get educated.
Okay.
Like I said, there would be, I think, some form of financial component, but I would prefer that be on the lower end and not be the main focus of it, but focusing on education. And yeah, they had a 403-year head start for sure. So that's what I'm saying. We have to find a way to try to compensate for that. And I think it was Lavelle earlier who said, would reparations be the end game, or is it, he's asking basically what was going to go beyond that.
Good question.
And that's what I'm thinking. I don't think it should be the end. That's not the result. That's just how we get to where we want to be. And what that would eventually look like is going to be us being on an equal playing field, hopefully.
Equity.
Yeah.
Right.
With them,
Speaking
So
of the vet,
this is Lavelle on the line.
What's
right
up,
now.
brother?
So he called in for some reason it didn't go through. So I'm gonna go ahead and
Thank you,
put
man.
him on. All right. What's up, brother? How you doing?
all right.
What's up, family? What's up?
Chilling, fam. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Hey, man, let me first off say thank you to Ron for the history lesson.
Most
I think
definitely.
we all benefited from that. I
Most
appreciate
definitely.
all of that back information about reparations. That's some very good insight.
Professor
So
R.
thank you.
Right.
I want to throw out a number right quick to you guys. $300 billion. Do you think that is enough to begin an economy?
300 billion?
$300 billion.
On Mars, maybe.
Not in kind, but cash.
Oh, wow. To begin an economy?
To begin an economy, to start a self-sustaining economy.
Not today. I think you need more.
I guess that would depend on how large the population in the nation would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think right
Okay,
now.
so let's put it in context. If you were to take the African American population in the United States, and you had $300 billion to allocate to that demographic of people, would that be enough to start a self-sustaining economy?
Easily, we spend more than that now.
Right.
Huh?
Easily, we spend more than that now as a black community. We spend more than that now.
So that's the point I'm trying to make. In 2021, according to the U.S. statistics, the black buying power in the U.S. was $300 billion, and that's what they could track, what they could trace. If, like, I understand the whole argument about reparations, but my honest position is that it will never happen, especially in our lifetime. And if we go back to like some of the I don't want to say teachings, but some of the studies of W.E. Du Bois and some of those people like that, we have enough at this point of purchasing power inside of the U.S. economy that if we withdrew, now I understand the conditional term if, because every black person in the United States would have to somehow agree to do this.
Right.
But let's say we have a utopia situation and that takes place. If we took the black buying power alone, or let's say we took the black buying power along with the Hispanic buying power and the Asian buying power, or maybe we exclude the Asian because we don't see eye to eye, let's say. And then we took the white buying power of those who really understand the cause, we would have more than any reparation could ever give to us. So we would have enough economic power to stop the U.S. economy and to get the attention. Because remember, the lawmakers, the legislatures, legislators are really under the hand of the companies that have enough to push the lobbyists to do what they want them to do. So in order to get the attention of the U.S. leadership, we would have to have enough economic power to stop the U.S. economy and be self-sustaining at the same time. And my last point is that I think about the NFL and I think about this whole thing with Brian Flores and, you know, all these allegations of racism, and we know how the NFL has been inequitable with its hiring practices and all that kind of stuff. So if every black athlete in the NFL just said, I'm not playing, I'm stopping, the economic impact of those organizations would cause them to rethink the whole structure, because they can't have a league without black athletes.
True.
So the U.S. can't have a nation at this point without African Americans. And if we took our buying power and pooled it, we will be in a position to where we can make demands. That's all I want. So you guys are great. I could go on and on this because I'm just listening at the edge of my seat. Like, I want to talk about this till next week or something. But anyway, that's my little 2 cents.
Hey man, we always appreciate your insight, man, and your input. Always, man.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
Interesting.
And I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
The purchasing power of the black community is something that if we decided together,
We could ever harness it.
yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And we could make. I think we could make a lot of changes.
But it'd just be a question of trying to find that unity amongst us to get to that point.
Right.
Yeah, it would work. It would definitely work. Can you imagine if everybody black in the United States decided for the next 10 days they're not going to go to work?
Right. And people have said this plenty of times
Oh, yeah.
before. They'll even tell you, okay, on this specific day, everybody don't go buy gas so they can drop the prices. But it never happened. You know what I'm saying? It never happens. Nobody ever actually
It's hard to get that many people on the same page.
You do that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's one of the reasons why division in this country is so widely utilized, because they can't afford to have that type of unity in any community with such a substantial amount of purchasing power.
Now, if we try to do our own and we make like more black-owned businesses, black banks, so we're not fucking with their shit, where we gonna get our shit from when they shut it down? Because we're getting it from them.
You hit a very
You know
fundamental
what I'm saying?
point.
If they're the ones that we gotta get the stuff to make our economy grow, what if they say y'all don't get no bread? You better order from somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be hard to do. Because eventually they're gonna stop it. They're gonna like, well, I'm not giving you nothing now. You gotta really come back. You know, so yeah, that's that's what I say. But interesting what you say, because that would make sense. Like, man, that's all of a sudden to figure out what happened. Oh, we lost $1 trillion today.
Hey, y'all,
Black people did nothing.
can I address what he said historically as well as currently?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I had to figure out why reparation. What is our case for it? And I hope that the viewers are not taking our perspective for reparations to be as much of a waiting game for our progress as much as it is a process in repairing a wrong.
Right.
So reparations can work in conjunction, and I am 100% on board with what the brother just said, easily.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do that, you cannot let them off the hook for reparations.
Right.
You cannot do it.
Right.
If I may, the average white family currently has roughly 10 times the amount of wealth compared to the average black family.
I've heard that statistic before.
White college graduates are 7 times greater than black. Since the U.S., this is, by the way, I'm reading this from brothers William Darity and Derek Hamilton. They were economists, and they did this back in 2016 to 2018. They said, since the U.S. government denied wealth to blacks, that government has a responsibility towards the descendants thereof, that will assist in closing the wealth divide in education, housing, and business ownership, because you were denied access. It's not like you made bad decisions. You were denied.
Flat out told
Emphasis
no.
on the word denied.
Flat out
that
told
is.
no.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. In 1860, $3 billion in 1860, $3 billion was assigned to the physical
Entire
bodies
body.
of enslaved black Americans
That's
as free labor, which was larger than the amount invested in factories and the railroad in 1860.
Wow.
3 billion is like 6 trillion.
1861.
They actually used that money to invest in the railroad.
1861.
To build this motherfucker.
Cotton by slaves produced $250 million.
That's right.
Wow.
We're talking about wealth. How's wealth defined? Assets minus debt. Whatever's left, wealth. Okay? These brothers said, this is what we get wrong about closing the wealth gap. And when I say it, it's going to sound kind of common sense, but it's deep.
Right.
And it's absolutely correct. Blacks can't close the racial wealth gap by changing individual behavior. Let me say that again. Blacks cannot close the racial wealth gap by changing individual behavior, such as assuming personal responsibility with financial literacy. In fact, white high school dropouts have more wealth than black college graduates. Thus, the racial wealth gap did not result from a lack of labor, but came from a lack of capital.
Yeah.
We could write a dissertation on that by itself.
By itself, yeah.
Brother Lavelle,
Yes, sir.
did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and hang up and listen online. I can hear a little better on my end. So.
All
Oh,
right.
thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man, all the
Yeah,
time, man.
nice. Thank you, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, brother. Thank
Take
you.
care.
See, I ain't going to work tomorrow, fuck it.
Hey, man.
My bad.
We
Hey,
got
man.
it.
Hey, man. They always say that was so long ago, right?
Yeah.
Let's check out the lie.
Go
The
for
New
it.
Deal. The GI Bill and Social Security came out of the New Deal, right?
Right.
Okay. Though black and whites both fought in World War II, black veterans could not redeem their veteran benefits.
Yep.
That's right.
Bam. Meaning housing, education, and schooling. So since slavery was over for so long, let's talk about the New Deal. But we excluded, right? Okay, let's talk about Social Security. Could have contributed to racial equity, as you mentioned earlier, my brother.
Right.
Social Security, which came out of the New Deal, could have contributed to racial equity, but it omitted domestic farm workers. Those omissions excluded 60% of blacks across the nation, and over 75% of them if you were in the South.
That crazy.
Because that's all they would let us do as far as jobs.
But what they
what they were
did
doing?
was, after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, gave the land back to the slaveholder, who they went to war against, in forms of reparation, which was land and resource promised to the victims and the reason you went to war to begin with.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Reparations has got to happen.
That's right.
It got to happen. It may be 20,000 years from now. It has to happen. Because if you don't, what you're saying is, again, you don't understand slavery.
Right.
That's right.
You don't understand what happened in the Civil War. You don't understand reparations. If reparations is reparations, how the hell did the Jews get all that money?
Right.
If reparations is reparations, how did the Japanese get that money?
Right.
If reparations is reparations, this brother's people here were annihilated off of this continent. They get land now, small piece compared to what they had, but nonetheless, land and cash. They got
more than we
something.
need. Yeah.
There's been no pushback on that, but when it comes to us, there's an argument. There's an argument because they owned us. And if we can understand that, now we can have legitimate race talks.
Yeah.
Until that happens, we will always be in an inferior position, because that lets them know if we don't have a economy, as Brother Lavelle was trying to get us to understand, among black people, if you don't have a successful, stable economy, and you're going to white folks and asking them to honor reparations, and one of the conditions of reparations is the people that you get it from or give it to has to have a stable economy, you're going to get turned down every single time. Not because they don't like niggas, which they don't, but because they want a return on it, and it ain't coming.
Right.
You may bring it back to us, but who gives out a loan and you only accept the principal and don't ask for the interest?
Right.
These folks are brilliant.
Right.
Wow.
They are absolutely brilliant.
Why they running things?
Those are the conversations we're not having, and why this platform exists. Now, anyone that's watching, please, by all means, call in. Tell me I'm lying.
You know.
Stop me when I'm lying. Stop any of these brothers, anything we said today regarding reparations, anything, call in, just like Brother Lavelle did, and talk to us. Tell us where we wrong. Tell us why we lying.
And if you have tried to call in, just put it in the chat, so we'll know that you tried to call in, and we'll call you back. Cause that's what happened with Lavelle. He said he called in, and so I just hit it back.
Hey man, y'all took statistics like when you understand median, mean, and mode and all of that.
Yeah.
They said, man, this blew my mind. They said in 2016 there was a study of consumer finances, and white families had the highest median wealth, which is like, let's say if you had 100 people, and you just took a line and said, I'm gonna divide it down the middle. So many people over here exist, so many people over here exist. And what are we gonna divide that line on? Oh, I don't know, height. So you may have more people in that particular group you're studying 6 feet and above, and you may have a smaller group here that these 50 here are 6 feet and below, right?
Right.
Okay, let me tell you what that line is. White families' median wealth was 171,000. So if I lined up every single white person in this country that pays taxes or has an income, if I take a line and just cut them straight down the middle, that line is going to be at $171,000. For black people, $17,600. For Hispanics, $20,700.
Wow.
That's why the man said, this is not an issue of trying to garner or become more financially literate, thinking that's going to close the divide. Like Brother Burley said earlier, man, they had a 400-year head start. And by the way, everything that we're talking about, we're just talking economics. We haven't even talked about the cost of human suffering.
Right.
Which is one of the things they consider in reparations.
Right.
We're not even talking about how it disrupted the professional career, which is one of the things they determined reparations towards Jews in 1953 to be based on. They said in 53, this killed me, and I'm gonna let y'all go, I promise, but this is important, brothers. In 1953, they said $952 million to indemnify persons for bodily loss, loss of liberty, and injury to professional careers because of racial and political persecution on behalf of Germany towards Israel. That was their criteria. Based on, they gave $952 million because there was bodily loss, loss of liberty, and injury to professional careers because of racial and political persecution. That's why I had to go so hard with you regarding race.
Right.
They provided this is 1953. They provided $35.70 for each month of imprisonment of the individual from that particular group in question, and a pension to the survivors of the victims. Start thinking like black people now. That's what we're talking about. Germany paid Israel $820 million for the cost of resettling 500 million Jews from Germany
To Israel.
Wow.
Wow.
Let's talk reparations. How can you not ask for it? How can you not demand it? When all of the criteria that has been made and set and defined has applied to everybody else on the planet,
Yeah.
except us.
The precedence has already been set.
Thank you.
The only thing is you trying to leave us out of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Look at how racist they are. We can't even give reparations. They excluding us from that too.
Right.
That's just how oppressive that system is.
To us.
To us in particular.
Right.
Yeah.
Reparations was deep, man. It was deep. I did not know that that's all what went into reparations. That shit was bigger than, hey man, we're gonna all get a $500 check every month.
Right.
What you just said was, you don't understand it.
Right.
That's why the brother's response, when I asked what does it look like, the brother started naming off education.
Yeah.
The brother said, yeah, money, yeah, but hey, this brother say tax exemption, so what have you. Now you got a real fight.
Yeah.
Now it just began. Now the fight just began. Reparations, brothers and sisters, reparations.
No taxes, free college, free medical.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, Obamacare for life, but it's no cost. Imagine the level of care you would get, though.
We are in a hell of a
That'll never
predicament.
happen, man.
We are in a hell of a predicament, y'all.
It may never happen.
We're not free yet. That's the problem. We still under the system that was created to keep us subjugated. And you might not be in slavery, you might not have chains around your neck, but can you stop going to work tomorrow?
No.
Exactly. We still slaves, you know, and the way the system is currently set up, we grinding behind. You know, yeah, even though you have some of us who've gotten successful, you know, those are the exceptions that prove the rule.
Right.
Look how hard it was for them to get where they are.
All right, gentlemen. Unless y'all have a little bit more, in this, y'all got 2 more minutes. I'm gonna give y'all 2 more minutes.
Do you know the number of how many Jews? Did they give a number of how many Jews actually
Wound up receiving it.
like that they lost during the Holocaust?
They say 8 million.
We just had this conversation.
8 million.
They say 8 million, but
Yeah.
the numbers might be inflated. But like I
8
said,
million.
I'm not trying to get canceled. I don't know. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's supposed to be 8 million.
Reason I asked that is because I was looking at some of the statistics. Like they gave a number of 12.5 million African Americans shipped from West Africa to the Americas. 12.5 million. And 15% of them died doing transport. That's just doing transport. You know what I'm saying?
Speak up on it, brother.
Oh, okay. And that's just doing transport. And then you got, like he was saying earlier, they was giving, I was looking at some of the other numbers, like 25 mil was about how much the bank credit was issued for mortgages using enslaved Africans as collateral to purchase Louisiana in 1859, right? And that's just the detail. That's some of the details they don't ever really mention when they're talking about the Louisiana Purchase.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Crazy shit. And imagine what 25 million is today. Can you imagine how much that was in the 1800s?
That'd be like billions. It'd be like billions.
That's crazy.
Today's money, that'd be like
It's fucking
billions.
crazy, man.
Yeah, that's
He was talking about the value of cotton. In 1822, it was 29 million. By 1861, it was 250 million. That's a lot of fucking money for
Of
the
free
1800s.
labor.
Free labor, man.
Free labor.
Free labor. That's my
Emphasis
point.
again
That's my
on
point.
free.
Free, man.
But I own you. I'm supposed to be free.
It's crazy, man.
Equal my machines. Side seat.
Working. Gentlemen.
So yeah, so everybody out there, man, hit that like button.
Please
Sure,
do.
share,
Please do.
spread the word. Go get some merch. Then, got my red one on today and stuff. Bobby got his.
Yeah.
So Yeah, go check out our merch. Check out the website www.thdailySmoke.com. Just thank you for supporting us the way you do.
And we know we promised y'all something on Tuesday, but there's a little bit of an issue with uploading the video, but we're gonna have it for y'all tomorrow. And so you're gonna start seeing off-day content from us. So instead of just the live shows on Mondays and Wednesdays, we're gonna have some other content for you on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. So that'll start tomorrow. So keep an eye out, 7 o'clock tomorrow
7
night
p.m.
on
like
YouTube.
always, yeah.
We're gonna put the video up, and you'll get to check us out. It's called the Smoke Sessions.
Absolutely.
So hopefully y'all will check that out and enjoy it just as much as we do making it, because I'm trying to tell you, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Had a lot of fun making it, man.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, dude, by the end, I was gone.
I can only imagine.
By the end, I was gone.
I can only imagine.
I ain't gonna even front.
I can only imagine.
This was a very, 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 very good conversation, man. And again, Ron, I really, really appreciate you, man, for that
Yes.
history lesson, man. 'Cause,
Yes.
You know, I think that's a lot of that stuff. That's something that all of us need to know. If there was anything that we didn't know, you know, the people listening, man, you could only benefit from that information.
For real.
You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you as always, my brother. Appreciate Lavelle for calling in.
Yes.
Appreciate y'all for sitting here and listening with us for
Yes.
almost 2 hours.
Yes.
And thank you to everybody
Thank
in the
you
comments.
so
I know we
much.
may not have
Yeah.
gotten to acknowledge every
Thank you.
comment,
Thank you.
but we do see them, and we see what you're saying.
Most
But
definitely.
we just don't have time to get to everybody's comments, so we
Right.
appreciate that though.
Right.
And I know our rhetoric sometimes can be kind of harsh, but I think I speak for every single individual in front and behind this camera that we all at the end of the day stand for truth.
Absolutely.
None of us are homophobic. None of us are racist.
Right.
None of us are sexist. Whenever we talk about anything in front of this camera, we are also up for correction.
Right.
If there's anything that we have put out there that may be inaccurate, we are all for that.
Right. Please.
Just
please.
don't penalize us when we tell you the truth.
Right.
Because we are all about the truth at the end of the day, regardless of what side that it may lie on. And that's what we hold ourselves accountable to. We really appreciate you all taking the time to watch us and support us. Thank you all so much.
Most definitely, man. So, y'all ready to call it a night?
Yeah, man, I gotta go home.
Bet. All right, so we're about to go ahead and shut everything down, man. Again, we appreciate y'all. Look for that content tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Oh, we gotta wait till tomorrow, man.
No, we can watch
You
it
can watch
now.
it here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right, I got you.
But
Okay.
they can't see it until 7 p.m. So yeah, man, y'all make sure y'all tap into that. That's gonna be every Tuesday and Thursday, like my brother here was saying. So I'm your boy Big Brock.
Brother Los.
Brother Ron, the people that are running my body here.
Brother Jeb.
I'm the boy Bishop.
And we are the Daily Smoke, and we are out. One love.
Good show, brothers. Good show, y'all. Good show, man. Good show. Y'all, I gotta go home to eat, man. I've been fasting and mama fried chicken.
Oh.
So I'm gonna go tan up, man.
Look, I'm coming with you.
Come on, this is enough. You think, right? You think. We can.
Oh, no.
Oh no, we still got.
No, we got.
Oh, that's right. They got film.